Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us. We're going to be tackling a pretty big question today. I think it's something that's been on a lot of our minds. It's that classic home ownership versus renting dilemma,
Yeah.
but with a specific Kenyan twist. What do you think?
It's such a fascinating topic, especially
Yeah.
here in Kenya. You have this really unique intersection of cultural aspirations and economic realities.
Yeah, it's not just about numbers.
Exactly.
It's about beliefs and how all of that influences our financial decisions.
Right.
So we'll be looking at kind of the pressures that come with this whole home ownership thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then like the realities of mortgages
Absolutely.
here in Kenya. And also, we got to talk about renting.
Right.
People kind of forget about renting
Yes,
sometimes.
we do.
It has its benefits. So let's start by unpacking like the cultural significance
Okay.
of owning a home here in Kenya. It's almost like it's a rite of passage, isn't it?
Absolutely. Owning a home here is seen as like a hallmark of success,
Yeah.
stability, and, even adulting in Kenyan society.
Right. It's very deeply embedded in our collective psyche.
It's like that moment when you tell people you finally bought a place, especially somewhere like Kilimani.
Yes.
Then suddenly everyone's like, oh, wow,
Yeah.
you're responsible,
You've made it.
successful grown-up. It's almost comical.
There's definitely this sense of validation that comes with it.
Yeah.
People think security. They think, okay, I'm not at the mercy of a landlord anymore. And it gives you this sense of belonging, like you finally planted your roots.
Yeah, and it's not just about escaping landlords either.
Right.
It's also about building a legacy,
Absolutely.
having something to give to your kids,
Exactly.
future generations. It's a big deal.
That's a really good point. Homeownership is totally intertwined with that aspiration,
Mm-hmm.
which we all have deep down.
Mm-hmm.
But, as with most aspirations,
Yeah,
there is a price tag.
there is. All right, so let's talk about the financial side of things. How does someone in Kenya actually buy a house? Like, what are the paths people usually take? Well, you essentially have two options. You can buy the house outright with your savings,
Okay.
or you take out a mortgage.
So it's like a big upfront investment versus a long-term commitment
Exactly.
to the bank, each with its own trade-offs, right?
Exactly. If you decide to self-finance, you might end up sacrificing other potential investment opportunities
Right.
or delay other financial goals.
Makes sense?
It's about prioritizing that immediate sense of security and ownership.
Mm-hmm. On the other hand, a mortgage,
Mm-hmm.
you're basically in this long-term financial relationship.
Yes.
Almost like that gym membership that you think you'll use all the time,
Yes.
but secretly you're dreading it.
That's a great analogy. It can definitely feel like that,
Right.
especially when those monthly payments keep coming in.
Okay, so let's get specific about mortgages here in Kenya. What does that landscape look like right now?
So based on the 2023 Central Bank of Kenya report, the average mortgage loan size is about 9.4 million shillings, with an average interest rate of 14.3%. But remember, those interest rates can fluctuate.
No.
You could be looking at anything between 8.7 and 18.6%.
Wow, those are some significant figures.
Yeah.
Okay, so say hypothetically you want a two-bedroom apartment, somewhere like Sukamau,
Okay.
priced at 5 million shillings.
Yeah.
What would the monthly payments look like with a mortgage?
For a 5 million shilling mortgage, your monthly payments could range anywhere from about 56,879 to 87,608 shillings,
Wow,
depending on what interest rate you get.
that is a lot.
Yeah.
And to comfortably make those payments, would you need like a super high income too?
Yes. To comfortably manage those payments, you'd need to be earning somewhere between 189,597 and 292,030 shillings every month.
Well, hold on. How are we getting to those income numbers?
It's all about this thing called the debt-to-income ratio,
Okay.
which tells you what part of your income is going toward paying off debt.
Right.
And this ratio shouldn't really be more than 30%.
Okay.
Like, imagine a pie chart of your monthly income. Your mortgage payment should be a slice no bigger than 30% of that pie.
Right. So 30%
Yeah.
to comfortably manage it?
Yes.
But from what I've heard, some banks are even stricter than that, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Some Kenyan banks want a debt-to-income ratio of 35 to 40% for mortgage loans,
Wow. Okay.
which makes it even harder for people to qualify.
Right.
And here's the reality check.
Okay.
Data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics shows that fewer than 12% of Kenyans in the workforce earn more than 100,000 shillings per month.
So what you're saying is for a lot of Kenyans, even a 5 million shilling mortgage is just out of reach.
Sadly, yes. Homeownership through a mortgage is more like an exclusive club. than a readily available option for most Kenyans.
Right. It seems like it's not just about wanting to own a home.
Right.
It's about being able to even qualify for the mortgage in the first place.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
it's definitely food for thought. So even for those who can afford it, should they automatically jump in and get a mortgage?
That's such a good question, and it's a really important nuance that we need to explore further.
No.
Even if you have the money for a mortgage, it might not be the best move for you financially.
Okay.
There are other things to think about, like your personal financial goals, how much risk you're willing to take, and your lifestyle in general.
That's right. It's a huge decision that'll impact you for a long time.
Yeah.
So let's break all of that down in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, sounds good.
Stay tuned. Welcome back. So last time we were talking about this idea of the Kenyan dream and how homeownership is a big part of that,
Right.
but also how affordability and mortgages
Yeah.
can be a big hurdle
Yeah,
for a lot of people.
definitely.
It seems like there's so much pressure to buy a house.
Mm.
Is renting seen as like less desirable?
Yeah, there's definitely this perception that if you're renting, you're like
Right.
not a real adult
Yeah,
yet.
you haven't made it.
Yeah, and it's almost like you're just throwing money away,
Right.
which isn't always true.
I hear that all the time from family. When are you going to get your own place?
Yeah.
You're just paying someone else's mortgage? It feels like a constant interrogation.
It's so interesting how these cultural narratives can actually influence our financial decisions.
Yeah, for sure.
But what if we looked at renting differently?
Okay.
Like, instead of seeing it as something negative,
Yeah.
we saw it as a choice to be flexible.
Okay, I'm listening.
Hmm.
How do we turn throwing money away into something positive?
Well, let's think about it like this. Renting is like dating,
Okay.
while buying is more like marriage.
Okay.
Renting gives you the freedom to try different neighborhoods,
Yeah.
different living arrangements,
Okay.
all without the long-term commitment.
So instead of being locked into a 15-year mortgage or whatever.
Exactly. You have the ability to move if you need to.
Okay.
Like if you get a new job across town, or
Mhm.
maybe you need to downsize because things in your life have changed,
Right.
or, you just want to explore different areas before you settle down.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially for someone early in their career or someone who just really values flexibility.
Absolutely.
But let's be real. Renting has its downsides too, right?
Of course.
What about all those nightmare landlord stories we hear?
Yeah, those definitely happen.
Right.
Renting comes with its own challenges, for sure. Difficult landlords, unexpected rent increases, not having control over your own space.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all things to keep in mind.
Yeah.
But even with those potential downsides, there's something to be said for the freedom and flexibility that renting offers.
So it's like choosing adventure over settling down.
Exactly. You're not stuck in one place. You can kind of go with the flow.
Yeah. And you also have more financial freedom, right?
Exactly. Renting can free up your finances so you can invest in other things
Mm.
or achieve other goals you have. Maybe you're really passionate about starting your own business,
Okay.
or you want to travel the world.
Right.
These are things that can be much harder to do if you're stuck with a big mortgage payment.
It's like that saying, rent the house, own your life.
Exactly. It's about having that flexibility to follow your passions
Mm-hmm.
without that weight of a mortgage holding you back.
But there's still that feeling of paying someone else's mortgage, isn't there?
Right?
Like all that money's going towards their equity.
Yeah.
And you're not building any of your own.
That's a valid concern, but building equity through homeownership does come at a cost.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the down payment and the monthly mortgage payments. You've got property taxes, insurance, maintenance. It all adds up.
So even after you've bought the house,
Mm-hmm.
you're still putting money into it constantly.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
And that's where opportunity cost comes in.
Right.
What could you be doing with all that money if you weren't spending it on owning a house?
Yeah.
Could you be investing in your education, starting a side hustle,
Right.
just having more experiences?
Mm-hmm.
It's about knowing your priorities and making choices that fit with your financial goals.
Right. So, okay. So we've talked about the cultural importance of owning a home,
Right.
the reality of mortgages,
Yes.
and the benefits of renting that people often overlook.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like there's no easy answer.
Right.
So how do we decide?
Well, it comes down to understanding your own situation,
Okay.
your financial goals, and how much risk you're comfortable with.
Right.
There's no right or wrong answer, just what's right for you.
Okay.
And it's really important to not make decisions based on societal pressure
Mm-hmm.
or comparing yourself to others.
So what are some of the key factors we should be thinking about when making this decision?
That's exactly what we're going to explore in the last part of our deep dive.
Okay, perfect.
We'll give you a framework to help you figure out your own situation
Okay.
and empower you to make a decision that fits your needs and aspirations.
Sounds good. can't wait to wrap up this conversation with some actionable insights.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, folks. The deep dive continues. All right, welcome back to the final part of our deep dive. We've been talking about this whole homeownership versus renting thing, and I feel like we've really gone in depth, haven't we?
We have.
We talked about the Kenyan dream, the financial realities of mortgages, and how renting can actually give you more flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's try to bring it all together. How can someone make a decision that's really right for them?
I think it's all about tuning out all those outside pressures and really getting to know your own situation
Okay.
and what you want to achieve financially.
So where do we even start? Like, what questions should someone ask themselves when they're facing this big decision?
Well, first, you got to really look at your finances right now. What's your income? What are your monthly expenses? How much do you have saved up? And do you have any debts already? You got to be honest with yourself about your money habits.
Right? Because it's easy to get caught up in the excitement of buying a home.
Exactly.
But if you're not financially ready...
Yeah, it can turn into a nightmare really fast.
So true.
Mm.
What else should we be considering?
Once you know where you stand financially, think about what stage of life you're in and what your goals are. Are you single? Are you thinking about starting a family? Is your job stable? Or are you planning to move in the near future, maybe to a different city or even a different country?
It's about matching your housing choice to your lifestyle and your future plans.
Exactly. If you value flexibility and you're up for new adventures, being tied down to a 15 or 20-year mortgage might not be the best fit for you.
Okay.
But if you're looking for stability and you picture yourself raising a family in a place you own,
Right.
then maybe homeownership is the way to go.
And we can't forget about risk. I mean, buying a house is a huge investment.
It is.
It comes with risks. Like, what if the market changes?
Huh?
Or interest rates go up? And then there are always those surprise maintenance costs.
All the time. So you have to really think about how comfortable you are with those risks. Can you handle it if the value of your home drops or if interest rates suddenly rise? Or would you rather have that predictability of paying rent every month, even if it means you're not building equity in a property?
It's not just about crunching the numbers. It's about knowing yourself, right?
Absolutely.
And how comfortable you are with the unknown.
Exactly. And lastly, don't forget about the emotional side of things. Owning a home can be really emotional.
It is.
And there are so many cultural expectations tied to it.
For sure.
But you got to remember, it's a financial decision at the end of the day. So don't let your emotions completely take over. Try to find a balance between what your heart wants and what actually makes sense for you financially.
It's like finding that sweet spot where your dreams and your financial reality meet.
That's it. The best decision is the one that gives you peace of mind and fits with your own values and goals. Whether you choose to own or rent, remember that where you live is just one part of your life. It's about creating a life you love, a life that empowers you.
That's a great point. As we wrap up this deep dive, what's the main message you want our listeners to take away?
It's pretty simple, really. There's no one right answer. It's a really personal choice, and there's no right or wrong. The most important thing is that you make an informed choice, a choice that works for your own needs, goals, and financial situation.
Absolutely.
Don't let society pressure you or make you compare yourself to others. That's not what this is about.
Right.
Educate yourself, be honest about where you are, and make the choice that feels right for you.
I love that. So whether you're team mortgage or team rent,
Right.
it's about finding what truly works for you.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into homeownership versus renting in Kenya. And remember, the best decision is the one that gives you peace of mind,